Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Teacher Surgery. I'm really pleased that we're here, season 2. This is a place where we have real and relatable conversations, and we get questions from teachers and young people and parents like yourself. And even if you're not in that demographic, actually you're with a tribe and it's a safe place and you can ask questions, because you know what we do here? We learn together. I am really pleased to welcome our panelists today, our expert teachers today. I'm going to jump into a question, which is quite a serious topic, and to get your views on it as well. How do teachers deal with sexual and inappropriate sexual behaviour in the classroom?
Okay, that's a really good topic, I think, and I think it's not discussed enough. It's kind of, a lot of teachers sort of shy away from that topic. I remember as an NQT, I had I'm going to stop you, Nash. You should, NQT, tell us what it means. When I was a newly qualified teacher, when I was actually practicing, and I was doing my PGCE, practicing to be an NQT, and I remember, being at a particular school. I was in a classroom, and a student decided to flash, sort of asked me, "Miss, can you help me with the work?" And then suddenly exposed himself, Wow. And I just was like completely shocked, didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, I did make a complaint to the teachers, but they just kind of brushed it off and kind of didn't deal with, you're young, and that kind of thing, he fancies you, and that was that at that time. And I just thought, okay, how am I going to learn to deal with this, because I'm not really getting the support. But I think, so overall, I think when you look at it, it's very important that teachers are not dismissed, because especially when a lot of young teachers come in, not even just young teachers, because you can be an older teacher, but when a lot of young teachers come in, male or female, there are, teenagers who are extremely horny and who are very excited and are learning about themselves, learning about their sexuality. And they sometimes feel, because you are praising them, and you are maybe the only one that's actually saying, "Well done, you're brilliant, you can do it, you can make it." And unfortunately, some of these children then interpret, "Oh, Miss fancies me," or "Sir likes me." And sometimes these things can then become, some of these students can end up having a crush on you, and it can get to the point where it becomes excessive, like stalking or inappropriate, or just one day, like I had one student at a college who just then decided to just grab my breasts while I was standing at the door, and the whole class sort of just shrieked and in horror. He was excluded from school, but from college, but it was his somehow misinterpretation of how he was feeling, So I think it needs to be talked about, because a lot of older teachers turn around and say, oh, that's your problem, I don't experience that, and it's sort of brushed away. But it can be very nerve-wracking for a teacher to come in and be facing this on a regular basis.
Nasha, can I just ask you, how did you deal with that instance when the young person done that to you, like grabbed your breast?
Yeah, I was because I was actually holding the door for the students to come in, and I think one of the great things was that all the students saw, the learning support saw, so it wasn't like, and then he just, I don't know what possessed him, but he just decided he would just jump and grab. And then I just, I said, right, get out. And the whole class, like I said, was extremely shocked. I then, the learning support said, I'm going to go and get somebody, I'm going to go and get security as well, because this is an assault, sexual assault. And then he was spoken to, he was excluded, but he then ended up having to come back a week later and be in my class again, But then this time when he was in my class, the students, they just wouldn't let it go. They were like, how could you try and that with Miss? How dare you? And then he couldn't cope, so he didn't want to come to my lessons anymore.
But do you think, and I'm sorry, just to bring, because you just touched on so many points, do you think, Nyasha, that young people, or, you know, young people, I won't say it, realise the ramification of, you know, that moment of acting out, or just thinking that they do it like, I'll be funny, or it's so silly, or it's not. They don't realise how serious it is to behave in that manner.
I mean, I think one of the issues that is going on, especially with a lot of young people, is the excessive amount of porn that they watch and that they're just downloading. That it's there, ready, available. And so some of them are just continuously just thinking of pornographic, you know, images, or think, you know, and that becomes another avenue. I mean, I don't know what people want to say.
Yeah, I think just to like jump on that, I feel like the biggest, or one of the biggest problems we have is the outside influences, especially when it comes to social media. It's free, it's accessible, anyone can get there, and a lot of the stuff I deal with, it is a lot of sexual inappropriate language, and it usually stems from porn, because that's what they talk about in the classroom. So, you know, we've got that battle with, you know, the restrictions and what we can do, what we can't do. In terms of dealing with it, there are various different ways. One way I like to use, or a strategy I like to use, is I try not to highlight it so much, especially amongst when there's like, you know, a group of like students. I try not to highlight it so much, because that's what they want. They want that attention, because they don't, like you said, they don't see the consequences or the ramifications of it. So I try not to highlight it so much, although, you know, I am very firm, you know, to make it clear that that's not appropriate. You know, you know the college policy, etc., and stop, and, you know. But obviously that doesn't always work. So there are other times where I may have to ask a mentor or TA to remove that student, and not necessarily for the whole lesson, but just for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, just so that they can reflect on that type of behaviour and know that when they come back in, you know, they can't be using that sort of language.
I was going to say, and I think it's as well having that discussion with them. So I've had situations where comments have been made, you tried to dismiss them in the classroom. You think the more I comment on it, the worse it's going to get. And then afterwards, sometimes when you have that conversation, do you think it was appropriate what you said? Well, yeah, I was just saying because I thought whatever as they go. Okay, would that be acceptable to say to your mum?
Yes,
to your sister? To your family? And they go, no. So why is it acceptable to say it to me? How would you react if someone done that to your family member? And then they think, actually, do you know what? It's looking at it from a different point. If that was my mum, my sister, how would I react? Normally 9 times out of 10 they go, I'll go and beat them up. Okay, so what will my kids say when I get home? Not that it's going to happen, but it's just a different way of them understanding if the shoe was on the other foot, you know. And I've said to them before, you know, I'm no different to your mum, to your sister.
Yes, that's right.
I might be your teacher, but we probably go to the same shops, we do the same things, but you find it acceptable to say to me. So it is sometimes highlighting it to them. If it was your family member, how would you?
You know, I think there's 2 strands to it. So one, definitely, the kids need to be spoken to. Just generally speaking, in terms of behaviour and how you behave towards your teachers, because they're there to be respected. You wouldn't speak like that to one of your mum's friends, or, you know, your dad's work colleague, or whoever it might be. So why do you think it's acceptable to speak to a teacher in that way? I remember my first year of teaching, and I think it was the last day before we broke up for Christmas. So I remember I came in, I was wearing my little dress, because, you know, we had our Christmas party going on there. I don't know if you guys remember.
That was just rumour, by the way.
She was dressed up for Christmas.
I was dressed up for Christmas, dressed up for a good time. And I remember just walking, I'm going to the canteen. And one boy, he just came and he grabbed me, he's like, oh, excuse me. I'm like, what are you doing? And automatically it was, I'm a woman first. What gives you the right to grab onto me? Who told you can do that? And then when he saw the lanyard around my neck, he was horrified. He was just like, I was just like, do not do that. Do not do that to anybody, especially a member of staff. And he apologized and everything. It was a mistake, definitely. I don't think he would have done that if he realized I was a teacher. But on the flip side, why do you feel like that behavior is okay anyway? Do you know what I mean? So that needs to be something that is taught at school, because it's just not. There's boys. If I for every time I hear a boy, especially, I'm sorry, Clement, but
it's true.
say like the most gruesome things, I'm thinking, hold on,
Where'd you get that
where
from?
Where do you get that from? And it's just like they need to be taught that this sort of behaviour and this way of talking isn't acceptable. And likewise for girls as well, because you do have girls and they want to match the boys' energy, right? And they want to say particular things that are just like, oh my God, you guys are horrible.
But you know the other thing as well, which I think is very important, and I know that this will probably be a bit shocking, but there are some teachers, I'm sorry, who just love. And I remember working with a particular colleague. A particular teacher would, make sure that when the boys were near, they'd bend down in a particular way and all this kind of, And it was kind of like, okay, what's going on here? And I actually remember having a lesson where exams were going on, and one of my students who was from my class said, "Miss, get me out of this class. I can't concentrate, right? I cannot concentrate because Miss over there, that dress is too short, And then I did actually say, you know what? Actually, when I saw what the teacher was wearing, I thought, no, this is inappropriate. Right, we need to go and do an exam somewhere else. So there are male and female teachers who love the fact that, and I'm not saying that they're not having relationships with the students, but they enjoy that intention of being the best looking teacher in the school, and everyone fancies me, and walking through the corridor and getting the girls all screaming and all the boys, so that again.
See, I've always been the opposite way. There was 2 male teachers and myself that used to teach the evening classes for the adults, all at the same level. And we used to do the assessment night together. By the end of that assessment night, I used to say, I don't want him, him or him, just through comments they'd made.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
To not put myself in that situation.
Yes, yeah.
Nasha, I just wanted to ask you something. Do you challenge teachers? If a student said, like, Miss, her dress is too short, do you go and did you challenge that teacher and say?
Well, with that case, I didn't challenge the teacher. However, a teacher, which I can say now, many, many years ago, told me that they actually fancied a particular student, and it was so evident. In fact, it was to the point where the rest of the class knew that this particular teacher had a crush on one of the students who was in year 11. And I just I said, what are you doing? I had to speak to this teacher and say, are you out of your mind? And that was when I was training as well. So I'm thinking, who do I go to? But at the same time, I need to pass. I don't want to get caught up in all of this.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I said to her, are you out of your mind? You're training, I'm training. You will be struck off teaching for the rest of your life. Like, get it in your head. But the reason why this particular teacher had an issue with younger guys was because at the time she was 21, her boyfriend was 18, and the student that she fancied was 16. Now, I'm not justifying, but I'm saying, you can see the age, how that could be possible. But I had to just speak to this teacher, and I don't know what happened,
But can I just add, she was 21, her boyfriend was 18, they were adults. And
yes,
I think sometimes that's what we get, like, they're both 18, he's an adult, 21, she's an adult, someone 16 is very much not
and
an
I
adult.
also said to her as well, I said, because one of the things, the problem with a lot of young people as well, is a lot of students will say, oh, I slept with Miss. They just randomly will say, oh, I banged her. Oh, me and Sir did. They just have this thing. They can randomly make up lies, students, and say, oh, Sir was it, because their imagination, you might have just tapped them on the back, well done. Oh, Miss was feeling me up, blood. She was feeling me up. And it's like,
Yeah, that's
no.
that's where safeguarding comes into it. Like you can never. I personally would never be in a room with a child by myself.
You have to have the door
even if the
open.
door's open, I need somebody to, even if they're passing by, just someone that's witness to. Because kids, I mean, imaginations do go wild, you know, there's some kids that are out there and they might just feel, you know what, like I want to get Miss into trouble. Like you have to protect yourself in that manner. I work in a secondary school, so we're told not to touch the kids at all, like in any way, shape or form. So those things are put in place to protect you as a teacher. So it's so important, whatever stage of your career you're at, that you follow those guidelines, because it's a fine line. It really is. It really is.
And it's something that's not talked about, because most of the time it's talked about when it comes to sexual language, etc. It's mainly talked about girls and boys in the class, but actually teachers go through this as well. So I think it's a good topic to highlight, you know, and have that discussion, open discussion.
Thank you, guys. You know what time it is. Yes? Question time. I am going to let Nasha, you can pick.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
all right. It's my day today.
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
Maybe it's
lady.
because I'm wearing purple.
Cool.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay. People like the blue ones. Okay.
Should I withdraw my child from a school because the school is now under special measures?
Oh wow.
Yes.
Immediately. Immediately.
Can I ask can you tell me what do special measures mean, and what needs to happen before a school gets into special measures?
It's to do with Ofsted, isn't it? To do with the Ofsted.
I mean, yeah, so it's to do with Ofsted, but one of the schools one of my sons went to, they were in special measures.
Even when you put your son in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll explain why I didn't pull the son out and left him in there at the time. They then get a new teacher to come in when it goes into special measures if it doesn't work. The head teacher before that, well, it turned out had employed a couple of their friends to teach.
Okay.
But they weren't qualified teachers. There was no DSBs checks for them. So it was a safeguarding issue, and as soon as it becomes a safeguarding issue, it doesn't matter how great the school is, it goes into special measures. Sure. So I think it's looking, why is the school in special measures?
Yes, exactly.
Rather than, oh yes, it's in, you know, this one, them teachers were removed, the head teacher was removed, so the school was able to function how it should.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think using that as an example of where I've been there, it is looking at what is the reason behind it.
I think like Ofsted inspections and whatever their conclusions are for whatever school they visit, yes, it's a guideline, but you definitely have to, as a parent anyway, you do need to look into whatever school you're interested in. I mean, you might have an outstanding school, when you go to that outstanding school and it's like, okay, the kids don't actually write in the English class. Oh no, we don't promote that. We want them to be creative. We use our iPads and, you know, they draw out with their fingers, you know, whatever creative story they came up. No, you need to think about what works for you, what you want for your child. So yeah, there is that end of the spectrum. A school might be classed as outstanding, but on the inside, you know, it's questionable. And then it's the same with your child's school. It was under special measures, but there were things in place which...
There was a few teachers that were not appropriately placed in that school.
Yes, that's what I think it is, looking at why is it in special measures? Is it a quick turnaround or is it something that's going to affect my child?
And I mean, there was a school where I used to live opposite. So one of the parents was my friend and said, oh, you know, I'm going to get my child into that school. So I said, let's just have a look at the Ofsted. Yeah. What did they get? And it was under special measures, and it was also failed. And then all the areas, we looked at all the areas, and it was so terrible. Like there was no encouragement. They even went as far as saying, you know, there was no posters of children's work. This was a primary school. Yeah. No posters of children's work. The teaching lacked. You know, there was no motivation in the teaching. I mean, and Ofsted's walked in. I mean, most of, you know, when Ofsted come, you try and make an effort at least. You try your hardest. So immediately when she saw that, she said, oh, I was going to send him there because it's just across the road. So she said from then, you know, no, there's no way. And she sent him to a better school. So parents, and even last week I was talking to a parent and saying, look, it's important for you to go online and see the Ofsted reports.
Can I
I know
actually-
Ofsted isn't always correct, but
No.
Also ask other
You know,
parents,
ask
because I think
parents.
that's where you get the truth from. You know, what is it like, especially if your child's needs learning support?
Yeah, all of that
What is
stuff
their
you need
support
to
system
know.
like there? But speak to a parent that's been through it. If you're concerned about bullying, ask out to parents, because parents, you'll get two sides, but you'll be able to make your own side up.
Can I ask you, like, so will you, can a school go from outstanding to under special measures in 1 year, like in whatever, if the Ofsted report comes out in like
It
2020?
is safeguarding, yes.
Okay.
If anything's reported as safeguarding, Ofsted will go straight in, and then as soon as they see there is a safeguarding issue, then they will slam it down.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like they've said it all. I guess the consensus is what they're all saying. I feel like it's really important for
Check
the
the-
parent.
check the school,
Yeah,
check
to
the
it.
school.
Not just Ofsted reports, but physically actually going in as well, speaking to, you know, you can't speak to students obviously, but speaking to the staff members, the principal, you know, the people that are in place that run the school, run the educational system. Book an appointment, like just go see for yourself. And I think it's, like you said as well, speak to other parents as well, like that would be really, really vital and beneficial.
Schools know how to put on a show for Ofsted as well. So, you know, I mean, on that day, they got the phone call the afternoon beforehand. They've put up all the glitz and the glam. Okay, we're going to do our
So
song
do
and
they
dance.
only get like 24 hours notice, we're coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
Usually-
before they used to get a few days, so you could, you know, especially if they phoned you on a Friday and they were coming in on Monday, the whole weekend, all the staff
Everyone's
were in,
in.
putting
Everyone's
pictures
coming to
up, making their classroom look amazing, being threatened by the head that if you dare, you know, if your class gets a satisfactory or whatever, you're out, you're losing your job. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. Guys, thank you. You know what? This conversation made me think that you guys do a lot, and there's a lot going on in schools, lots to manage as well, and lots to do. So as always, we, as parents, as people in the community, as individuals, thank you so much for the work that you do. So thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. As always, you can like, follow, subscribe, share, keep the conversation going. And I'll see you all again very soon, or next week, even next week. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.